Less than 6%. That is the likelihood of you reaching a goal. It's actually less than that because you have to be part of the 20% first to even have a 6% chance, but that's a whole nother discussion. Most people have no idea what it is to actually commit to long-term growth and long-term goals. I mean, really commit to growth and success. Unrealistic planning, unrealistic goals, lack of planning, motivation. But would you be interested in increasing that chance? In today's conversation, we're going to talk to Common Man OCR, aka David McCarter, and look at a real life case study of what it looks like to spend a decade on a journey and share with you the good, the bad, and the actual useful pursuit of your goals. Dave, welcome back to the Fallible Man podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I got a strong question to start with, Dave. In your opinion, in your experience, what is the biggest roadblock in pursuing long-term goals?
I would say the biggest roadblock would be getting started, because we tend to overthink it. We tend to look at the big picture. We tend to look at the enormity of the problem instead of breaking it down to smaller, attainable goals. You may say, I want to lose 100 pounds, or I want to lose 50 pounds. Well, that starts by changing your diet. What's that look like? That starts by adding fiber to your diet, adding protein to your diet, et cetera, et cetera. Stop eating at McDonald's. But we get stuck on I want to lose 50 pounds. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. Guys, we're going to dig deep into this issue today. Let's get going. Here's the million-dollar question. How do men like us reach our full potential, growing to the men we dream of becoming while taking care of our responsibilities, working, living, being good husbands, fathers, and still take care of ourselves? Well, that's the big question, and in this podcast, we'll help you with those answers and more. My name is Brent, and welcome to the Fallible Man Podcast. Welcome to the Fallible Man Podcast, where we dive into everything about being a better man, husband, and father. A big shout out to Fallible Nation, that's our longtime loyal listeners, and a warm welcome to those joining us for the first time. We appreciate you choosing to spend some time with us, and with all the options out there, thanks for checking out the show. Let me know what you think. You can catch me at the Fallible Man almost any platform. My name is Brent. Today, my special guest is David McCarter, aka Common Man OCR, who is just recently back from the Spartan World Championships. David, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Now, gents, before we dive into the meat of today's show, if you want to get to know Dave better, be sure and check out our new playlist, Meet Our Guest, over on YouTube. And don't forget to grab your companion download, no cost, no email required, on our website. It's www.thefallibleman.com/podcast extras. It's loaded with actionable ideas from today's show, because I know you can't necessarily take notes while you're doing this. So if there's something that really resonates with you, there's a link in the description to download this free download that you can use to take what's been talked about today and just go from there, so you know exactly where to start. Now, Dave, I still like to start pretty easy, but I tailored the question for you because I know you hate trivia.
No, I don't hate trivia. I hate certain kinds of trivia.
I tailored it just for you.
Oh, boy.
Usually I tailor it against my guests, so this is in your favor.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
Which group in Spartan society was responsible for agricultural leadership and supporting the Spartan warrior class? Was it the Paroclio? I can't say it. The Helots, the E4s, or the Cryptea?
The Cryptea, the secret police. I'll say it's the Helots. I don't know off the top of my head, but...
All right, guys, you know the drill. Don't cheat. Don't look it up. I had to look that one up. We'll come back to that later, because I know no one actually gives a crap. Dave, in your own words today, in this moment, who is David McCarter?
I'm just a guy who is trying to better himself through the sport of obstacle course racing, trying to better himself both spiritually, in my work in the church, and emotionally, and just trying to be better. If I can be 1% better every day or every week, that's good. If I can drag a few people along with me, great. It's kind of who I am.
David, for our audience, what do you do for a living?
I am an engineer at a reputable online services company.
All right. What is something that everyone should know about you before we dig into the show today?
Don't ever tell me I can't.
I like it. Guys, we've been getting to know David just a little bit. In the next part of the show, we're going to dive into pursuing your goals in real life. Mainly because, yeah, anywhere else is kind of a waste of time. We're going to roll to our sponsors, and we'll be right back with more from David McCarter.
I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all MyPillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98, or our 6-piece towel sets, just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Guys, welcome back. I sleep on a MyPillow. I sleep on MyPillow Giza sheets and with a MyPillow body pillow, which I love. I have MyPillow towels. My wife wears MyPillow slippers. I would never recommend a company I don't use or trust myself. We are proud to have Mike Lindell and MyPillow as sponsors of the show. You can go to mypillow.com and use the code TFM. Super complicated, right? The Fallible Man. I know, I'm super original. Code TFM for up to 80% off your order, and it's free shipping over $75 for our listeners. Thanks, MyPillow, Mike Lindell, for that. Let's get on with the show. In the first part of the show, we spent some time getting to know Dave, and in this part of the show, we're going to talk about pursuing your goals in real life. Now, full disclosure, Dave is my best friend. He's a regular contributor to the Fallible Man. I tell you this because I've been around for this journey that he's been on for the last decade or so. So if I ask really specific questions, it's because he's been a valuable part of my life since before this journey started for him. And I just want to be 100% transparent up front. Now, Dave, I was having a conversation with Abby. For all of you who don't know who that is, it's my 12-year-old daughter. And I was explaining to her that there are certain things that she wanted to do that she didn't comprehend the commitment behind them yet. The time requirements, it's just outside of a 12-year-old scope of understanding. And it occurred to me that most people don't really understand the time commitments when they take on big goals, because we live in an instant gratification society, really. So it doesn't, maybe Abby's not the only one, and I think that contributes to some of the difficulty with people not completing goals. Now, right off the bat, let me ask you, I keep saying 10 years. Now, you've been doing Spartans for 8. The journey towards Spartans started in 9, but really you started going back to the gym and taking care of yourself better about 10 years ago. This has been a
10 years ago,
thing. So out of curiosity, what do you know now about pursuing your long-term goals that you didn't understand 10 years ago?
It's not overnight. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be, it's not going to be something that you're just going to have it done in the next 5 minutes. You have to stick with it even when it looks like you're never going to get there. I know in my own journey, for example, with Spartan and Tough Mudder, all the races you and I've done together, I still can't climb a rope yet. I still can't climb a wall by myself. I can now do some things that I wasn't able to do before, but it took 8 years or so to get there. And the more you stick with those goals, with that North Star, I think one of Joe DeSena's books says, like, find your why or find your North Star or something like that. The more you stick with it and keep pursuing that goal, the more you're going to reach, the more able you're going to be to reach that goal. But you have to have that persistence and know that it doesn't matter how you compare yourself to others, because we're always going to do that, but you're on your journey. People are on their journey. Just keep moving.
Hopefully his books is Finding Your North Star, because Finding Your Why would be plagiarism. That's Simon Sinek.
Yeah, I think it's Finding Your North Star. I think. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, that's a very valid idea. It's very similar to find your why. It's, you know, find what leads you home, find what leads you to the destination you're built for. So it's not instant. That is we live in an instant gratification society, and it just amazes me how many people quit projects a day, a week into them. You and I have talked about the dropout rate on New Year's resolutions for the gym, right? You lose 43% of them in the first month. The gym, it's as gym guys, it's always entertaining to watch. Just like, oh man, the gym's crowded for January, less so in mid-February. By March, it's about leveled out again. Now, Dave, when all this started, I can say this because you're my friend, you frequently struggled with self-image, self-doubt.
Still do.
And I know sometimes that's still actually a lingering issue in the back of your head. So how do you proceed forward? How do you process these doubts now versus then? And then how did you keep from quitting over the last 10 years when those thoughts were pressing on you?
To be honest, I still struggle with that, especially after my dad passed away in 22. And there were some times where I don't want to keep going. I don't want to move. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to eat that bowl of broccoli. I don't want to do this anymore. And I think about kind of what's the alternative. Yeah, you could die. You could die a very painful death. You could not accomplish your goals and be a failure. You could become what all those negative self-thoughts are saying. And that's where I look at it of, okay, I'm not going to let that win. I'm going to keep pressing forward. Even if I can't do that particular thing right now, I'm going to make that goal, and I'm going to keep pressing forward because I'm not going to let the negativity win. That's how I process it. But it's still a constant struggle. It's still stuff lingers in the back of my mind. Can I give an example, if you don't mind?
Yeah, go for it.
Thanks. When I was on the Spartan Beast in Greece here recently, I was on your team, Oscar Mike, and I'm now part of that team, which Oscar Mike, shout out to you guys. I love you. They're a veterans organization that helps disabled athletes, disabled veterans, etc., be active, get out on the course. So if you ever see Team Oscar Mike on the course, give him a shout out, give him a hand with the athlete, etc. We saw our athlete Jolene get third in the world for para-athletes, which was totally cool to watch. But we're on one of the mountains. We're talking little mountains outside of Sparta. And you're just to the point where you've already apexed the mountain, you're starting to come down back into the valleys to get back to festivals where you can cross the finish line. And I had a pretty significant fall. My team was already gone. I said, just don't worry about me, get the athlete across the finish line. And they took off, and I had a pretty significant fall. I fell right on my left hip, and it hurt, and it hurt a lot. And I sat there crying probably 15 minutes, just bawling my head off. And I'm like, I miss my dad. I don't want to keep moving. I want to quit. I want to stop. I want to stop. And the thought that I'm too stupid, I'm too fat, I'm too ugly, whatever to do this. All those negative thoughts kept invading my brain. And after having all these Spartans run by me, asking if I'm okay, I'm like, I'm okay. I'll be all right. It was, no one's coming to get you. Get up and get moving. You have to finish. You're better than this. You're not going to let this win. And I got up and I finished. And I was only about 40 minutes or so behind my team. And I held my head very high when I crossed the finish line and got that medal.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because I want to dig into perseverance. When things don't happen as fast as you want them to. So, with your OCR journey, I've been privileged, and I do say privileged with all sincerity, to walk alongside you for part of that, to be with you at several races. When your OCR journey started back in 2016, you did your first race together, and it was nasty. It was a nasty.
Oh, it sucked.
It was horrible. It was on a mountain. It was all either uphill or downhill.
Or both.
There was freezing rain. I mean, they were taking people off the course
Mhm.
with cooler blankets. It was so cold and wet and miserable. So how do you persist from this is your first encounter with this OCR world, right? And it was not a fun, pleasant encounter. You did your very best, and I loved every moment of you with you. You were kind of demoralized when you left the course, and I was really worried about how you were going to respond to it. Now, that was in 2016. We were in Canada, and that was horrible.
We're still British Columbia, baby.
In 2024, you fly to Greece and drive to Sparta for the Spartan World Championships. There's a lot of miles in between them. I meant to ask you before the show started, because I know Spartan used to track your total miles, but that's a lot of miles in the last decade.
Actually,
Or just on, sorry,
what's your
8 years.
question?
How do you go from this horrible experience to the Spartan World Championships? How do you persist all the way, despite the horrible start, despite, you know, in 8 years? I mean, this is a night and day difference between Dave's experience with OCRs day one and this. You know, you stopped at my house on the way back from the airport, on the way back from Sparta, and the joy and the passion and the just alive experience as you recounted this event, 3 races in 2 days, and all your adventures with 3 days. How do we go from point A to point B? How do you persist through all the tough times?
Well, to answer your first question or your first comment there, I'm at just Spartan, mind you. I'm currently at 98 races, 25 trifectas, 1,056 kilometers, and basically 17 days on course. So that's over the last 6. Actually, more than that, because they're missing like 3 miles of that. Myself I finished Tough Mudder Whistler, but I didn't do the last couple of kilometers because I finished the American Tough Mudder, which is 10 miles. You guys finished the Canadian Tough Mudder, which is like 12 miles. So I went across. I'm like, guys, there's a mountain. I'm done. See you at the finish line. And, you know, we all left till pandemic.
Hey, to your credit, there were a lot of people leaving the course, and Zeke and I both wanted to walk away, because the idea of trying to hike up the side of the Olympic ski jump after 10 miles, dude, it was heinous. People were falling off the side of the mountain just in tears, screaming from the muscle cramps. Zeke and I were walking backwards to try and keep our
I watched it
from pulling, and the incline was so severe that, like, on my feet I could touch the grass in front of me because of the angle.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was every bit as hideous as it looked, and I both wanted to quit before we ever started up that hill. So you got the first 10. That was a huge win.
Well, I remember because I went from that point where I split off from you guys, and I went across the finish line. I'm like, I'm not going to be. And Dad and I sat there by Olympus, or was it not Olympus? Was it called the curved wall thing that you had done? And I remember you had a problem. What's that?
The warp wall. I got injured on that one, actually.
Was it that one or the one before? Because you looked at me and like, no.
No, that's the one I got injured on. I stopped doing the warp wall after that race because the guys who were up at the top catching people helping injured me trying to help me over that wall because of the way.
No, thank you.
So I miles.
I remember Dad and I sat there and we stood there and watched you guys for a little bit. I'm like, no, buddy. But as far as perseverance goes, let's fast forward a little bit to later on that year, you and I went to, actually it was you, Bruce, David, and I got on the excursion, and we decided to do our first Spartan race. You kept talking about Spartan. I'm like, I'm just going to go try the Spartan thing. And it was a 3-mile event, or was it 5 miles then? I think it was 5 at the time. And was it 3? Okay. And we go down to Portland, Oregon, and stay the night. And then we drive back up to Washougal, Washington, which is right next to Vancouver. And we start the Spartan Sprint. And I thought, I got through it, barely, and had a good time. But let's fast forward. I think it was it 2017 that we met Casey McAllister? It was 2017. It was you and I. So I got these 2 races under my belt in 2016, right? And I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of cool. This could be something. I need to try this one more time and see if I'm able to do this. Brett and I hop in the truck. We drive down to Portland again, and we pop over to Washougal. And I'm sick the morning of. I'm ready to quit before we ever get out there. And I'm telling Brett, I'm going to throw up. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And I remember you looking at me and go, dude, we just drove like 200 miles. Let's just go try. I'm like,
we were both sick that morning.
And I was being a total wuss. So we get out there, and it took me hours to do a 3-mile event. And I remember at one point, I get to this obstacle. I'm looking at Brett, and I'm like, I can't do this. I got to stop. I get this tap in the back of the leg. I think it was a Hercules voice, remember it. I get this tap in the back of the leg. He's like, come on, brother, we got this. And I look down, I turn around. There's nobody there. I look down. It's a 3-foot man with no legs. It's a guy named Casey McAllister. They call him the Legless Spartan. And he's literally scooting along on his trunk and his knuckles because he didn't have his grid shirt at the time. And I'm sitting there going, I have nothing more to complain about. Like, if this guy who was at this, I don't want to say disadvantage because I know we both know Casey, he's a complete stud. But if this guy's got these issues, I got nothing, And we all finished the race together, and it was absolutely glorious. I remember you catching him off one of the obstacles and going, holy cow, he's actually got a bunch of muscle. But that was kind of the thing that really lit the fire under me, was this is an opportunity to not feel like the fat kid, to not look at myself that way and be good at a sport. I wasn't allowed to play sports as a child. And this gives me an opportunity to have something to train for. I don't know if I told you this, but I learned after my dad passed away that he actually told my uncle that he was very angry with you back in 2016 for getting me to go on this. And Dad went with us. That was the funny part, is he drove in the car with us. He was very ticked off at you for getting me involved in this, but he only did that out of place of caring. But he actually told my uncle he thought I was too fat and I was going to die. So that, combined with being Casey, was like, no, I need to pursue this more. And then you get 2017, there was a couple of races, 2018, a couple of races. In 2019 and I think in 2020, I bought my first race pass, season pass for Spartan. And of course, then, COVID hit. But now it's like, instead of just having, like, I'm going to lose X amount of weight, or I'm going to better myself, having this goal, kind of a wishy-washy goal, this gives me something to train for. So, I can't get sad and depressed because I have races to train for. That's kind of how I persevere and I keep going with it, is this gives me an avenue by which to utilize my training. Not just, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour and do cardio. Well, la-di-da, but did you do anything? Not really. Hope that's a good answer.
I don't know there's a wrong answer when we're talking about your journey and what you just along that path, right?
Right.
Having a why is ultimately what I'm hearing. You have a reason to do this because you've decided I'm going to I'm going to do these events, which means whether I want to or not, I'm going to the gym. And guys, I can attest to this. I know Dave's schedule. He is incredibly persistent in the gym 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day. Right. I'm very familiar with this because he's like bailed on me when we were doing things because he had to go to the gym.
Yeah, sorry, dude. Gotta go to the gym. Dude, we're doing it. Gotta go to the gym.
And so having I need to do this. That's what you need. You need to hold on to something. North Star, your why, whatever author you want to reference, right? Having I have to do this for me. I have to race, in Dave's terms, right? Well, to keep racing, that means I have to eat better. I have to physically take care of myself and go to the gym. I have to take care of myself mentally and emotionally to be able to handle this, because those courses will punish you. Well,
Yes.
They will punish you physically, guys, but as Dave explaining about his experience in Greece, they will punish you mentally and emotionally as well. Because when it starts to break down, the emotion and the mental stops first.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dave, what does pursuing your best life look like in the real world? Because a lot of coaches talk about it. There's a lot of gurus online. And guys, I don't want to be the guru. I want to be a guy who's actually talking true reality. So in the real world, because we all know in the idealized society how it works, but in the real world, what does pursuing your best life look like?
This is going to sound funny coming from me, Brent, since you know me so well. You have to understand that you're worth it. That's like the first thing. I've lived a life where I've been so busy taking care of everyone else, which taking care of folks and taking care of their needs is great. Being a servant is fantastic. Do not get me wrong. But if you look at the scripture for what it says love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is like it. When the apostles asked, or the disciples asked, what's the greatest commandment? Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. So meaning, and I don't mean to quote scripture. I know there's some folks who listen to this and are, that way. But if you don't love yourself, you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. So realize that you're worth it. And then start formulating a plan of action. I mean, how many discussions have we had? Brent, I don't know where to go with this. I've got no results in the gym. Well, let me help you out. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to accomplish this goal. And then once you have that plan of action, at least to start. Even if you don't have a plan yet, just start moving. Start doing something to better yourself. And don't give up. Too many of us, when the going gets hard, we get going. We just forget about it. And we walk off the course, or we quit, or we sit and cry on the top of a mountain in a foreign country that I've never been to. I mean, we've never been to, excuse me. And we decide that this is it, I'm done. You've got one life to live, and why not try to pursue the best you can?
So it's messy.
Yeah, a little bit. It's messy. Just a smidge. It can be very messy. It's not orderly. Sometimes it sucks. Sometimes you get so down. That can be real, right? Not overly, but sometimes you get so down, you're like, I don't want to get up. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to move. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to sit here and sleep or whatever. And it's like, no, I need to move. I need to get going because I've got some stuff to accomplish. I've got races coming up. I've got, these events that I'm doing that are challenges for me. And to sit here and not do anything is not going to help me get there. My weight loss journey is not going to happen if I sit on the couch all day.
Dave, you aren't just on a physical journey, right? I mean, you reference Spartan a lot, and that's a huge part of your life. And that's a huge part of your method, because you've got to stay on top of your other things to continue to do that. And I know your father wanted you to continue to keep racing because he knew it was good for you mentally, emotionally, physically. And guys, I'm not saying that all of you need to do OCRs to that, but I know for David, that's a huge mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. This is a huge mover for him to be focused on these OCRs. But you've been working on mindset. You've been working on self-care, prioritizing your dreams, like narrow wave motor ventures. We haven't talked about that a whole lot yet. But you've racked up almost 14,000 miles for charity. You've done 9, not counting your other OCRs.
Mm-hmm.
You're approaching your growth at a very holistic approach. You're not just going to the gym. You're not just trying to eat better. You're doing things to nurture yourself. But they're all multi-year commitments, right? With narrow wave motorcycles, you spent 2 summers, 3 weeks each time, 3.5 weeks, doing these long distance charity rides, racking up thousands of miles on your motorcycle, raising money for something that was important to both you and your dad. I ask you, do you take time and celebrate the little wins, or what is your secret to continuing forward in all these massive commitments?
You do need to celebrate the little wins, because if you don't celebrate the little victories, the big victories aren't going to mean much. So going to the narrow wave motor ventures stuff, when I did the narrow way around, I had never ridden that far by any means. I've ridden a lot over the last, God knows how long I've owned a motorcycle, but I've never ridden in a one sustained journey for 6,200 miles by the time I was done. I'd never been to some of those states, but for me, the small win was, okay, I'm now in Montana. Cool. Sorry. I want to go the other way. I've now ridden from Washington State. I'm now in, Idaho. Okay, now I'm in Utah. Okay, I've never ridden to Utah before. Okay, well now I'm passing through Wyoming. Okay, that's a win. And there were times during the journey where it's, again, I need to learn to go home. This is getting too hard. I'm not going to make it on time. And you would have the next win, and you'd celebrate that. And the next win, you'd celebrate that. And when I finally got to the Harley-Davidson Museum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it was like, that was my mission, was to get there, because that was Dad and I's first ride that we had planned. That was a culmination of the dream and a lot of those little wins. And it meant everything in the world to me to walk around that museum, see all the motorcycles there for the 120th anniversary celebration. But it took going through and celebrating all those little wins to get to the big win. Then, of course, it was coming home, which was challenging because I broke down for 2 days. But yeah, you gotta celebrate the little wins. Otherwise, you're never gonna have enough motivation to get to or discipline to get the rest of them.
Dave, I want to ask you about mindset, right? So, because I've been on part of this journey with you, I know I was with you the day before we lost your dad, and the night you lost your dad. And I know that was a major moment in your life. And I know your dad wanted you to keep racing. I remember when he started getting sick, that he grumbled at you at the idea of not going to your races because you needed to stay with him.
Yep.
I know that the narrow wave motor venture series that you're working on started with a dream of your dad, right? This was a dream your father, not you, shared together. This was something you intended to do together, and you persisted. Part of this has to do with strong emotional connection, obviously, to your dad, and that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Part of it is you've had to equip yourself with a mindset because of the loss of your father, because of the passions that you've committed to following both in his memory and individually. So let's talk about the mindset that it takes to pursue long-term goals, because this is not I went and did a Spartan this weekend. You've been doing these for 8 years. You have raced a lot of miles. You have driven a ton of miles in the 2 years. And I know we're already in the process of your third trip, right? You've already started fundraising for your third trip and you're heading towards the Arctic Circle. And that's going to be exciting. And you guys, I'll have all those links down below so you can find out what Dave's doing there, because I'm the guy he calls and goes, "Hey, I ran into this problem. Find me this."
Yeah, fix this.
I'm the guy in the chair. Yeah.
He's my Oracle. Like, hey, Oracle, this is Batman.
I'm the guy in the chair, right? It's from the Spider-Man series. And you know what? I love being able to help you that way. But there's a mindset involved with doing all these things. So let's talk about the mindset required to take on long-term goals and actually succeed at them.
So let's go back to Payette, Idaho, 2020. Where were we at? You were there.
Oh God. Oh God.
Come on, Brett. Tell me, where were we at? What were we doing?
That was your first hurricane heat, and I got injured.
You did get injured, but you stuck around. You took pictures for us at the time, which I sincerely appreciate.
I had to drop out of the event, but I followed you along and took pictures.
So for those of you listening, Hurricane Heat is another level of Spartan. It is a endurance event where you, on the 4-hour one, you show up with a rucksack and whatever gear they tell you to bring, and you do whatever they tell you to do. And you do as like team exercise. They have a 12-hour and a 24-hour version as well, which I have not done yet. And I think our first thing we had to do was like take buckets of water from the irrigation canal and dump it off in the parking lot or the field, right? So we had a whole relay going there. Anyway, after Brent had gotten injured, I was concerned for you because I'm like, is he okay? Is he not gonna walk out of here? I gotta carry him or so. What do I have to do? I remember we had to take our PVC pipes, tie it to our bucket, take our rough weight out of our pack, put the rough weight in the bucket, and then haul the whole rig up the mountain to the flat part of the mountain or whatever. And I'm so irritated with myself because my team is already gone. They're up the mountain, they're running, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, fat kid, all these negative thoughts come into my head. And the whole rig starts to come apart. Everything just starts to fall apart. And you weren't there. I think you were already on top of the mountain or something taking pictures. But I said some words I probably shouldn't have said. I cussed myself out a lot. So my buddy Adam, now, the Kirtea, the leader of the event, Dave, are you okay? I said, I don't care if you fail me on this event or not. You will have to kill me and bury my fat butt on the side of that mountain to get me to stop. He goes, okay. And luckily, I got the rig put back together. A couple members of my team came down the mountain and grabbed the rig and helped me get up the side of the mountain. And for me, that's always been the mindset of I have this goal, and unless I die, I'm going to go complete that goal. Sometimes with goals, you have to learn how to pivot. So, if it's a goal that, like Narrowway, my goal is to get to the Arctic Circle next year. I'm going to keep going until I get there, or the bike explodes. And not giving up, not surrendering anything, because that's the goal I've set forth. That's the realistic goal. And I've got it broken down into small pieces, but that's the biggest mindset thing I can tell folks is when you've got that goal in mind, you do everything you can till you get there. And then when you get there, you set a new goal.
I remember on our first race together in 2016, we were on top of Whistler Mountain. And your shoe got stuck in the mud. Like we weren't on top of the mountain yet. We were approaching the top of the mountain. I remember that. Done a Spartan race. Like when we're talking about mud, we're talking about suck your clothes off kind of mud. People lose shoes,
like
all kinds of crap.
Mm-hmm.
It took me and another guy, like we dug Dave's shoe out of the mud while he was taking a rest and helping.
Yeah, we're back on my foot too.
But I remember our conversation because you were so, it was your first event. You were out of shape, and you were in so much physical pain and emotional pain at the time.
Yeah.
And you asked me, it's like, how do we do this? And the discussion evolved into when we stepped across the start line, the only option was the finish line. It was the stretcher or the finish line. And that was the conversation we moved into as we were traversing those miles together, was we stepped across the start line. The option is a stretcher or the finish line.
And that has stuck with me ever since.
And I remember thinking, it's like, we're all going to die up here.
But did you die?
Those are too stupid to quit.
Pretty much.
And we both should have, but because I was severely out of shape myself. But I remember that discussion. That discussion helped fuel me as we went through this event together. Was, well, there's death and there's the finish line. And I know that probably sounds extreme to some people, but that is the mindset of successful entrepreneurs as well. And of people you look up to, like Elon Musk, is once you start a project, there's utter and complete failure or there's success. But no matter what, we're riding this sucker to the grave. I think a lot of us are worried about our self-preservation, and it kicks in. That's one of the things they told us when I was in the military was your mind will quit at 70%. Your body's still got over 30% left that it can put out, but your brain puts on the brakes to try and protect you. And I think we do that to ourselves frequently with goals. We're like, well, I have to protect me, and so we're gonna stop here when we have more to give.
Well, on that note too, is when they have those other failures, when Elon has a project that fails, it's learning how to pivot and make a new goal, make a new project. And I think that along the lines of the self-preservation scenario that you're proposing, is we don't make a new goal because, I failed at that one, so I'm obviously a failure. Instead of, okay, I needed to make a new goal. Like you said with the scenario of so many people coming to the gym in January, but they're gone by February. It's because, and this is, again, my opinion, because I've been that person before. It's, I didn't get the goal I wanted. I didn't lose, 30 pounds in the first month, so I've obviously failed. And they don't set another goal. And they don't set a realistic goal. They just stop. And like certain people on the podcast right now told me in races where I wanted to quit is, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. He's saying that to me for, I want to say an hour while we were in Whistler. And I'm like, okay, shut him off or I'm going to punch him. but it's right. Just keep moving.
I remember taunting you. It was like, hey, if you can catch me, you can punch me. Because that means you have to keep moving.
Yeah, I know, right?
Everybody needs an asshole friend, just like me.
I wasn't going to comment on that.
We've been discussing pursuing goals in real life. What that actually looks like. That it's not clean, that it's not neat, it's certainly not like TV. In the next part of the show, we're going to dive into what actually happens as far as how you stay in your journey in pursuing your real life goals. Now, Dave, the statistics tell us that 80% of people, like this blew my mind. 80% of people actually don't even set goals. At the beginning, I commented on 6%.
Mm-hmm.
You have a 6% chance of the 20% that actually set goals to succeed. 80% of people do not actually actively set goals or set any goals for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And of the 20% who do, only 6% succeed. These statistics tell us just a crazy idea. So let me ask this. Why should our audience set goals for their life? Because apparently a lot of people don't and don't see the value in it. So from your perspective, why should our audience actually set goals for their life?
Because if you don't, you're going to be going through the motions. You're going to live a life of mediocrity. And you're going to always have in the back of, and this is again my opinion, you're always going to have in the back of your mind, what if? Instead of, I tried, I gave it a shot, I succeeded here, and here. I had these adventures, I had these cool things happen to me, these bad things happen to me, whatever. But without setting goals, you're a robot. You're going through motions. If I didn't set a goal, and I'll just show this to the audience, this is the World Championship medal for Sparta Trifecta World Championships that I just completed. And that was a goal because that was way harder than American races. And that set my 7th trifecta for the year. I'm on track to get 8 next weekend in Phoenix. And without setting goals, I'm going to go to Sparta and go get that done, or I'm going to go do this and get that race done, I would never be there. I would be sitting back going, man, all them people running Spartan are having fun. So I guess the question is, what kind of life do you want? Do you want to live a life that doesn't have any meaning, or do you actually want to set some goals and do some things?
David, in the decade of journey with multiple projects and pieces, let's talk about tools that work and don't work. So right off the bat, are you motivated all the time, or is this a discipline thing? Because we've already touched on it, but is this discipline or is this motivation?
Discipline. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays forever.
Now,
I hate to be that blunt, but it's just, the days you don't want to get up. Like today, I did not want to get up and go to the gym. Okay, guess where I went? Went to the gym. Got my workout done because I've got to go get it done. Motivation, I'm not feeling up to it. Well, while do you stinking dog, Buttercup? Get up, let's go. That's where discipline comes in.
Okay. And, if you've been around the social media world at all, you've probably seen somebody say, right, there's always posts about motivation versus discipline, but
right.
Reality is motivation is so fleeting. It's like, we all experience it just in the normal week, right? We get up in the morning, we're like, man, I'm feeling pretty good today. I might even go for a walk, or I might even do this. And then come like 3 o'clock, you're like, oh, screw it. I'm going home. I'm
going to bed.
Dave, now a lot of people have a lot of ideas, and I know you've had a lot of dreams. You've had a lot of ideas. You've had a lot of different, hey, we should try this, or we should try this. And it's good. That's absolutely a good way to be. How do you decide?
Do I hear a butt coming on?
How do you decide what goals are worth pursuing out of all those ideas?
That's where things get difficult, because the way I look at it is, what's providing the most overall value long term? For the listeners, I got a pretty significant health diagnosis back in May. Brent, you know the details of it. We're not going to share that because I'm not going to bore everybody. I'm not dying. I'm not going to die. But it was enough to scare the bejesus out of me. And so lifestyle changes had to be made, et cetera, et cetera. So when I look at my goals, I have to look at it in the lens of that, like, what's going to provide the best return on my time investment overall, not just tomorrow. So, for example, I don't drink alcohol, but if I was the type that did, I could make the decision like, I'm going to go out with my buddies and get plastered tonight. Well, that's fine. You can drink, but you don't go out to the bar and get, crap faced. I can go out tonight and go get plastered with my buddies. But is that going to provide long-term benefits for me? Well, no, because it's just going to leave me with a hangover and whatever. But will going to the gym provide me a little better long-term benefits? Yes. I can go out tonight and I can go out to Applebee's and eat nachos till my head explodes. But is that the right way to go? No. Those are small examples. As far as like goals and projects and things you want to get involved in, it's the same idea of what's going to provide the better return on my time investment, my commitment investment on the long term. So you got to look big picture. You got to look 5, 6, 10 years out, not just tomorrow. You also have to counterbalance that with what needs to be done right now. What are things that need to happen? Like, you've got 2 girls and a wife and your mother, right? So your projects look a little bit different. Maybe you need to take the family on vacation or something, as opposed to going and racing a season full of Spartan races. As a husband, I'm sure you probably have that issue, that idea floating around once in a while. So yeah, I'm not sure I answered the question appropriately or not, but look at the big picture, look at the long-term time investment, and look what's prudent right now. And this is another way to say this, as far as prudent, this is something I've had to learn sometimes the hard way, of don't just invest in just yourself, invest in others. So if I had to go to the gym and, like Brent's family was having a big Thanksgiving meal or something, I'm going to go to that because I'm investing in them as a family, them as my friends, etc. Not just me going to the gym. That makes sense. Because you also have to invest in like emotional connections. You have to invest in your social connections, not just you getting all slim and trim and stuff in the gym or on a Spartan race or whatever.
So what I just heard out of that is you're coming out for Thanksgiving. That's what I just heard.
Yeah, well, there's that. Depends if you have a turkey or not.
Not in my house. Not in my house, but that's a whole nother conversation. Now, guys, when we're talking about deciding what goals are worth pursuing, be sure and check out my last episode where we talk about Socrates' triple filter system. That help
was good, by the way.
With this. Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome. That was really good. I appreciate it a lot.
I didn't even prompt him for that one.
No, he didn't. I listened to it yesterday, and I'm like, dude, that rocks.
Right, that will help you guys as you're deciding on what ideas are worth actually pursuing. Now, Dave, coaches throw out all kinds of tools that they say work, which is great. I've heard a lot of things, but in reality, right, what are some of the things that have helped you stay on track? Some of the tools, some of the focuses, some of the ideals. What are some of the things that have actually helped you stay present and on track with your various goals?
So one thing that I know Joe just said this before and others have said this, is get your own personal board of directors or board of trustees or board of advisors, whatever you want to call it. People that are close to you, and Brent, you're on this board obviously, who will not, how did my dad used to say, blow smoke up your tail, but they'll tell you like it is. They'll tell you unbiased opinions and unbiased options, and count on those folks to help you stay on track. Have people in your life that are going to hold you accountable, because if you're the only one holding yourself accountable, that's a challenge. It's just sometimes a challenge to hold yourself accountable. Put a date on the calendar. I have, like, when I finished the narrow way south, which I did Route 66 from east to west this year, I put a date on the calendar. I will leave on the 5th of July. I'll return the 23rd of July. That is that's when I'm coming back, or 27, whatever it was. 27, it was 23 days. And put a date on the calendar. You know, my Spartan racing season will be planned here in the next couple of weeks. Get dates on the calendar. That way you are tracking to that date. If you're not running OCR, you're not doing something like that, put a date on the calendar that you're going to walk around the block, or, you know, that you're going to run your first mile, or you're going to get that PR in weightlifting or whatever, and track that accordingly. On the food side of things, I learned this, Brent, you and I talked about this repeatedly, is track everything. Track any calorie that goes into your mouth, because that will help you out so much with learning why your nutrition is out of whack. I had to learn that the hard way. But I have a personal board of directors or advisors. Track, put dates in the calendar, track everything, and for food, track everything. And yeah.
What's your number one tool for staying on track, on focus?
My actual tool? Mm-hmm. My calendar. I kid you not. I eat, live, and breathe, and die by my calendar. I use Outlook. That's not just a plug or something, but you know, if I gotta meet, I met with you today. It's on my calendar. My gym time is on my calendar. It's a tool that keeps you on track. It's a tool that helps you stay focused. Use to-do lists. Use Microsoft To Do. Use Google To-Do, version of To-Do, whatever you got to do. There's so many free tools out there. So many free calendar apps out there that can help you with that. And if you're not a person that does that stuff, like maybe you're hearing this on somebody's, you know, Gen 1 iPod or something, then get a paper calendar and write it out manually. But keep copious notes in your calendar that help you stay on track and stay on track toward your goals.
If you could go back 10 years, right, with all the wisdom and experience you've gained from this journey for the last 10 years, if you go back 10 years and tell yourself something about this process back on day one, back in 2015, because I still remember this conversation. Back in 2015, I came to you, I said, Dave, I got an idea. Dave and I are involved with a youth conference. And so I told Dave and Zeke, our other board of director at the time, I was like, Dave, Zeke, I got an idea. This is what we're going to do to feed into the theme of this year. And both of them looked at me like, what is wrong? But I still remember that conversation. And if you go back 10 years and tell yourself something now, before we walked onto the mountain at Whistler, before we got in the car and left that morning, what would it be?
It's going to suck, but it's going to be so worth it. I mean, it's going to suck, but you're going to come out the other side better. You're not going to be able to do everything right away. You're still going to struggle, but you're going to be better off now, better off later than you are right now. Now I can do a beast, and a Spartan beast and be pretty well okay. I can't do it for gospel yet, but I was telling somebody in Greece, I can pick the Atlas stone up now by myself and chuck it at you. I can run with a 100-pound spherical stone on my shoulder. I remember when I couldn't pick that up. And, you know, I can do obstacles now that I never thought possible before. And it all takes, it's tough to get there. And you have all the plenty of doubts like we talked about before. But you're going to get there if you keep going. Embrace the suck and keep going.
Now, gentlemen, if you're getting something out of this, be sure click the like button, do all the good social media nonsense that I absolutely hate, and leave us a comment on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Leave us a review. That's even better. We would love to hear what you have to say about the Fallible Man podcast, about the conversation we're having. Dave, for someone listening right now, you said at the beginning that one of the hardest things is just starting. So I'm a listener, and I'm going to start. I've listened to this podcast. I'm motivated. I'm inspired, and I'm gonna start. What are the first 3 steps that our listeners should take starting after this show to start this journey of pursuing their long-term goals?
First 3 steps. Wow. Commit to the goal. Make a plan. Get moving. Because if you don't commit, you will make a plan. If you don't make a plan, you will start moving. And a plan means putting a date on the calendar.
I think a lot of us skip over that portion of it, as far as putting a date on the calendar makes it real. Because I'm a very much like you. I live by my calendar. Putting it on my calendar means it's real. Means I'm going to do this. It's going to happen. And I think a lot of us like to skip that detail, because it's great to think about it in, one day I will fill in the blank.
But one day or day one. One day or day one. Do you know what that means?
Let's work it out.
So one day means, one day I will run a Spartan race. I will do a Spartan sprint, and I will have fun being muddy and gross, which I was muddy and gross. Or day one, I showed up to Spartan in Washougal, Washington. I showed my tail up that start line, and I crossed the start line, or the finish line. Or let's put it in a real context for the listeners. One day, I will lose the 50 pounds of overweightness that I have, of weight that I have to lose. Or day one, you know what? I showed up to the gym, I am working with the trainer, and I am moving on my goals. Or even before that, or even before all of that, day one, I got off the couch, I got out of my recliner, and I walked around the block. One day is a dream. Day one is real, and it starts to get things moving. One day or day one.
I like it. What's next for the Common Man OCR, otherwise known as David McCarter?
I will be going to the Spartan Trifecta weekend in Phoenix next weekend. So if you're in the area, come on out to the Phoenix International Raceway. I'll be there all 2 days. In Sparta, it's 3 days. And then first weekend in December, or second weekend in December, whichever, I'll be heading to Sebring, Florida for my last Trifecta weekend of the year. Both racing with Team Oscar Mike, so that'll be great. And then we'll see what 2025 holds.
Where's the best place for people to connect with you?
Anywhere on social media at Common Man OCR. Facebook, Instagram are my 2 primary ones. And then you can also go to commonmanocr.org, and that just goes right to my Facebook page.
And you can find Dave's full race schedule on there. You guys are on the video version. You can see it in front of you. If you're listening to us on a podcast platform, then yeah, you can check out at Common Man OCR. And I think I actually even have links on my website as well, because like I said, Dave's a friend, Dave's a partner in this.
He's got merch too.
We sell Common Man OCR merch on the foulman.com shop. So that's foulman.com/shop, where you can get my merchandise. You can get Dave's merchandise. You can even get the great skid guard that he wears part of the time when he's racing. Custom made Common Man OCR skid guard. Proud of that one. I designed that for him because we wanted to do something for his adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, I know that you're super worried about what group in Sparta was responsible for the agricultural labor and supporting labor costs. Like I know that's a major concern. You got B, which is helots, and I'm sure I am saying that wrong because I can't speak Greek. You were actually correct. That is the correct answer. That if you guessed helots, you were correct.
Yes.
I know, right? Hey, like I said, I tailored it for you. I thought cultural crap. He will not know about Sparta.
I had no freaking idea.
Dave, if our audience heard nothing else today, what is the most important takeaway you want them to hear today?
what did Yoda tell Luke Skywalker? Do or do not. There is no try. Yes, you can try. You're going to fail, but keep going. What's the old adage? When you're walking through hell, keep going.
All right. I like it. Guys, for Common Man OCR, otherwise known as David McCarter, myself, thanks for hanging out today. Make those long-term goals and just start. That puts you far above everybody else. Go through the rest of the episode. Be sure and download the companion download, because there will be a lot of great starting points on there for you to help you pursue these long-term goals. For Dave and myself, be better tomorrow because of what you do today. We'll see you on the next one.
This has been the Fallible Man Podcast, your home for everything man, husband, and father. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a show. Head over to www.thefallibleman.com for more content and get your own Fallible Man gear.